Picture a dimly lit comedy club, smoky, maybe a little too warm. The crowd buzzes with anticipation. Who's this next act, they wonder, nursing their drinks? Out strides, not your typical jeans and t-shirt comic, but a dapper gentleman from another era, Søren Kierkegaard. "Good evening," he begins, a twinkle in his eye. "I'd like to talk to you about despair." Silence. Then a nervous chuckle ripples through the audience. This is going to be different. See, Kierkegaard, the OG Danish philosopher, wasn't known for his punchlines. He was the king of existential angst, a deep thinker who grappled with life's big questions: faith, freedom, the meaning of existence. Heavy stuff. But what if, just what if, he'd brought those ideas to the stand-up stage? Imagine the possibilities. Think Mitch Hedberg meets Sartre with a dash of Stephen Wright's deadpan delivery. Kierkegaard, in his own way, was a master of irony and social commentary. He saw the humor in the human condition, the absurdity of our everyday struggles. He just did it with, well, less ha-ha and more, that's deeply unsettling. But we're here to change that. We're going to take his profound insights, his philosophical gems, and polish them until they sparkle under the comedy club spotlight. Ready to laugh your way to an existential crisis? Buckle up. This is Kierkegaard, reimagined for the stand-up stage, where the only thing more uncomfortable than existence itself is the 2-drink minimum. Let the philosophical comedy routine begin. And if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. So, how many of you have spent an hour scrolling through Netflix, unable to decide what to watch? Kierkegaard asks, the spotlight glinting off his spectacles. The crowd roars with knowing laughter. That, he declares, is the essence of modern despair. He pauses for effect, letting the absurdity sink in. We're drowning in choices, paralyzed by the infinite possibilities. It's enough to make you want to just stare blankly at the wall and contemplate the void. He's got a point, right? This isn't just about bad TV nights. Kierkegaard saw this coming back in the 1800s. He called it the dizziness of freedom. Too many options, he argued, lead to anxiety, a sense of meaninglessness. He didn't have streaming services, of course, but he understood the struggle. Imagine him at the library, overwhelmed by the Dewey Decimal System, muttering to be or not to be. That is the question. And also, should I read philosophy, fiction, or maybe just a self-help book on how to make decisions? Today, it's not just books or movies. It's everything. Dating apps with endless swipes, social media feeds overflowing with curated lives, career paths branching out like a choose-your-own-adventure gone wild. We're bombarded with options, and instead of feeling empowered, we feel paralyzed. It's the paradox of choice: more options, less happiness. Kierkegaard's solution: embrace the finite, make a choice, even if it's arbitrary, and commit to it. Don't get lost in the infinite scroll of possibilities, because sometimes the most meaningful thing we can do is just hit play and see what happens. Now let's talk about faith, Kierkegaard announces, his voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. It's not about blind obedience or checking boxes. It's more like a trust fall with existence. He pauses, letting the image sink in, then adds dryly, "And existence has a terrible track record." The audience erupts in laughter. They get it. Trusting the universe is about as reliable as a $2 bill. But Kierkegaard, ever the provocateur, isn't dismissing faith altogether. He's highlighting its inherent risk, its leap into the unknown. For him, faith wasn't about certainty. It was about embracing the absurd, the irrational. It was about choosing to believe, even when doubt whispers in your ear. He compares it to falling in love, a terrifying, exhilarating freefall into the abyss of another person. You can't logic your way into love, just like you can't reason your way into faith. It's a choice, a gamble, a surrender to something bigger than yourself. And just like love, sometimes it works out, sometimes it crashes and burns, but the leap itself, that daring act of trust, that's where the magic happens. So next time you're feeling lost, Kierkegaard concludes, a mischievous glint in his eye, just remember, life's a trust fall. You might as well close your eyes and jump. What's the worst that could happen? You land in a pile of existential dread? You were probably heading there anyway. Kierkegaard takes a beat, peering at the audience through narrowed eyes. Anyone here ever spend an hour crafting the perfect Instagram caption? A chorus of yes and nervous laughter fills the room. He smirks, trying to fit your entire personality into a square photo and a witty quip. Oh, the irony. He'd have a field day with social media, wouldn't he? The curated lives, the highlight reels, the endless quest for validation through likes and comments. Kierkegaard was all about authenticity, about stripping away the masks we wear and embracing our true selves. And let's be real, social media isn't exactly the breeding ground for genuine self-expression. He'd see right through the carefully constructed facades, the performative activism, the influencer culture peddling unattainable lifestyles. He'd call it what it is, a distraction, a way to avoid confronting the deeper questions of who we are and what we truly value. He'd probably write a scathing philosophical treatise titled The Sickness Unto Death by Selfie. But Kierkegaard, for all his seriousness, wasn't without a sense of humour. He'd probably find the whole social media circus tragically comical. He might even create a fake profile at the Lonely Dane, posting existential memes and witty observations about the absurdity of it all. Because at the end of the day, he'd want us to log off, look up, and connect with each other in the real world, not just through the filtered lens of our devices. Section 5. Fear and trembling in the DMs, anxiety in the age of instant everything. Let's talk about anxiety, shall we? Kierkegaard asks, his voice a low rumble. That feeling you get when you send a risky text and wait for a response. That's the kind of existential dread I'm talking about. He paces the stage, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Of course, in my day we had pigeons, much less reliable, but at least they didn't ghost you. The audience erupts in laughter, relieved by the familiar scenario. Kierkegaard, the master of turning profound concepts into relatable experiences, had struck again. He understood the human tendency to overthink, to anticipate the worst, to get lost in the labyrinth of what-ifs. He called it fear and trembling, and in the age of instant communication, his words resonate more than ever. We live in a world of constant connection, where every notification, every unanswered message can send our anxiety levels soaring. We refresh our inboxes compulsively, analyze read receipts like they hold the secrets to the universe, and spiral into existential crises over unanswered DMs. It's exhausting. But here's the thing. Kierkegaard believed that anxiety, while uncomfortable, is an essential part of the human experience. It's a sign that we're alive, that we care, that we're capable of deep feeling. It's the price we pay for freedom, for the ability to choose, to love, to create. So the next time you're freaking out over a text message, take a deep breath and remember, at least you're not waiting for a pigeon. Section 6. Despair. Not just a bad hair day, but it can feel like it. Despair, Kierkegaard intones dramatically, is not just a bad hair day. It's a profound sense of emptiness, a void where your purpose and passion should be. He pauses, letting the weight of the words settle. But hey, he adds with a wink, at least it's not boredom, right? Boredom. Now that's truly terrifying. He's joking, of course. Or is he? See, Kierkegaard saw despair as a sickness of the soul, a symptom of a life lived out of sync with one's true self. It's not just about feeling sad or down. It's about feeling lost, disconnected, like you're sleepwalking through existence. And in our achievement-obsessed, hustle culture world, despair can feel like the ultimate failure. But Kierkegaard believed that despair is not the end. It's a wake-up call, an opportunity for transformation. It's in the depths of despair that we often find the courage to confront our fears, to question our beliefs, to make radical changes in our lives. It's the dark night of the soul that precedes the dawn. So, if you're feeling lost and hopeless, take heart. You're in good company. Kierkegaard's been there, and he emerged from the depths with some of the most profound and enduring philosophical insights of all time. And who knows, maybe your journey through despair will lead you to create something extraordinary too. Section 7. The Comedy of Errors, Finding Meaning in the Absurd. Kierkegaard takes a swig of water, surveying the audience with a sly grin. Life, he declares, is a comedy of errors, a cosmic joke with no punchline. He pauses, letting the absurdity sink in. The good news, once you accept that, it's all downhill from there. He's right, isn't he? The more we try to control life, to force it into a neat and tidy narrative, the more it seems to slip through our fingers. We make plans, life laughs, we fall in love, hearts break, we chase success, only to find it fleeting and ultimately unsatisfying. It's enough to make you want to throw in the towel and embrace the chaos. But Kierkegaard, ever the optimist, in his own darkly comedic way, believed that there's freedom in acknowledging the absurdity of it all. When we let go of the need to control, to understand, to find meaning in everything, we open ourselves up to the possibility of finding joy in the unexpected, beauty in the mundane, and meaning in the midst of the mess. The key, he believed, is to embrace the present moment, to find humor in the everyday, and to approach life with a sense of playful curiosity. Because in the grand scheme of things, none of us really knows what we're doing. We're all just stumbling through the dark, hoping to trip over something meaningful along the way. And sometimes, the best we can do is laugh at the absurdity of it all. Be yourself, Kierkegaard proclaims, his voice echoing through the club. Everyone else is taken. He winks, then adds with mock seriousness, besides, imitation is the sincerest form of despair. The audience chuckles, recognizing the truth in his words. In a world obsessed with appearances, with projecting the perfect image, Kierkegaard's call to authenticity is more relevant than ever. We're bombarded with messages telling us who to be, what to buy, how to live our lives. It's easy to lose ourselves in the noise, to conform to the expectations of others, to become a pale imitation of our true selves. But Kierkegaard believed that true fulfillment comes from living in accordance with our own values, passions, and beliefs. It's about having the courage to be different, to stand out from the crowd, to embrace our quirks and imperfections. It's about defining success on our own terms, not by the standards of society or social media. Authenticity, he argued, is not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about embracing our flaws, owning our mistakes, and learning from our experiences. It's about having the courage to be vulnerable, to let others see our true selves, even the messy, imperfect parts. Because in the end, it's our imperfections that make us unique, interesting, and ultimately human. Section 9. Kierkegaard's roast of society, still relevant today. You know, he begins, I once wrote a whole book criticizing society, and the best part, it's still relevant today. He lets out a hearty laugh, clearly amused by the timeless nature of his own social commentary. He was the original hipster philosopher, a keen observer of human folly and societal hypocrisy. He saw through the facades of his time, the empty rituals, the blind conformity, the pursuit of wealth and status at the expense of genuine connection and meaning. And let's be real, not much has changed in the last 200 years. He'd probably have a field day with our 21st century anxieties, the cult of celebrity, the pressure to be on all the time, the FOMO-inducing nature of social media. He'd skewer our obsession with productivity, our addiction to instant gratification, our tendency to mistake busyness for importance. He'd probably write a scathing essay titled "The Present Age Still Distracted After All These Years." But Kierkegaard wasn't just a critic, he was a seeker. He believed that a more meaningful, authentic life was possible, but it required courage, self-reflection, and a willingness to challenge the status quo. He wanted us to wake up, to see through the illusions of our time, and to create lives of purpose, passion, and genuine connection. Section 10. Laughter is the best existential medicine. What's the best way to deal with the absurdity of life? Kierkegaard asks, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Laughter, of course. It's the only sane response to the cosmic joke. He throws his head back and lets out a hearty laugh, the sound echoing through the club. Kierkegaard, for all his existential angst, understood the power of humor. He saw laughter as a form of liberation, a way to distance ourselves from the weight of our own seriousness. It's a reminder that life doesn't always make sense, that sometimes the best we can do is find the humor in the chaos. He believed that laughter allows us to embrace the paradoxical nature of existence, to hold both the joy and the sorrow, the profound and the absurd, in a delicate balance. It's a way to acknowledge the darkness without being consumed by it, to find light in the midst of despair. So the next time you're feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the world, take a moment to laugh. Watch a funny movie, read a comic strip, share a joke with a friend. Remember that laughter is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the antidote to despair, the balm for our existential wounds, and the reminder that even in the midst of chaos, there's always a reason to smile. Section 11. Why so serious? Embracing the lighter side of philosophy. Philosophy doesn't always have to be so serious, Kierkegaard quips, a twinkle in his eye. It can be funny, engaging, even a little bit silly at times. He pauses, letting the thought sink in, then adds with a wink, "After all, we're talking about the meaning of life here, not solving world hunger." Though a good snack always helps with existential dread. He's right, isn't he? We often approach philosophy with a sense of reverence, as if it's some sacred text reserved for academics and intellectuals. But Kierkegaard, with his wit and irreverence, reminds us that philosophy is ultimately about life, our lives, the human experience, the big questions we all grapple with. And life, as we all know, is messy, unpredictable, and often quite funny. So why not approach the big questions with a sense of humour? Why not laugh at the absurdity of it all, find joy in the unknown, and embrace the paradoxical nature of existence? Because when we take ourselves too seriously, we miss out on the beauty, the wonder, and yes, even the humour that life has to offer. Kierkegaard's legacy is a reminder that philosophy can be both profound and playful, thought-provoking and entertaining. He encourages us to engage with the big questions, not with fear and trembling, but with curiosity, a sense of adventure, and a healthy dose of laughter. Section 12. Encore Kierkegaard's timeless jokes for the modern soul. As Kierkegaard takes a final bow, the audience erupts in applause. They've laughed, they've thought, they've maybe even had a mini existential crisis or two. But most importantly, they've connected with the timeless wisdom of a philosopher who, despite living centuries ago, seems to understand the anxieties and aspirations of the modern soul. He's proven that philosophy doesn't have to be dry and inaccessible. It can be funny, relatable, and even a little bit edgy. And in a world saturated with information and starved for meaning, Kierkegaard's insights, delivered with a comedic twist, offer a refreshing perspective on how to navigate the complexities of life. So the next time you're feeling lost in the existential wilderness, remember Søren Kierkegaard, the stand-up philosopher who dared to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Embrace the paradox, find the humour, and remember, as Kierkegaard himself might say, life is a joke, and the punchline is, well, you'll have to figure that one out for yourself.